There we go. Now we're live.
There we go. All right.
We are live. Hey, I am Patrick Hillier. I am the Cubist tonight. I'm the solo Cubist. And I have with me Marc Specter from the Grand Gamers Guild. Welcome, Marc.
Hi, everybody.
Marc and I chatted a while back when I was still doing the conversation thing over on What Did You Play This Week, about Endeavor, Age of Steel, when that was a Kickstarter. But tonight we're going to be talking about other things. But for tonight, we'll start off with our usual banter of, hey, what have you been playing this week? And I know one of them because I grabbed it and put it on my shelf behind me. Why don't you go first?
Yes, I am. Sure. So I guess I'll start with that one then. So just a couple days ago, I played a game called Ion with my boys. It was kind of late morning, and my son said, hey, before I head out for the day, you want to play a quick game? And we bantered about a few different titles and settled on Ion, which is a fun little sort of set collection style game with a scientific theme, obviously.
Right.
Like Genius Games, they always have an educational bent to their stuff. Long story short, you're trying to get positive and negatively charged elements and put them together to make, neutrally charged, hopefully I'm using the proper scientific terms, neutrally charged compounds. And it's one of those, pick and then pass draft type things. And then there's some radioactive elements, and there's some noble gases which don't combine with anything, so they set collect in a different way. But it's very much that Sushi Go style mechanic where you pick and pass and then you score, and depending on the thing that you've drafted, it's going to score in a different manner for you. It's a lot of fun. You play it over 3 rounds, takes half an hour or so, and my youngest son used to thoroughly kick our butts, but I think I have sussed him out, and I won this game because of, oh gosh, what was it that did it? It was because I focused on radioactive elements early on. I banged a few of those out, which gave me an end game bonus, and they were kind of playing catch up on that.
Sure. Cool. Versus, what was the other one you said you couldn't? What was the other element? You said radioactive was good or bad?
Radioactive, they're all good. They're all good in their own ways. Radioactive elements score in one way, and then when you get a compound together, it scores in another way. But then you have noble gases, which don't combine easily with anything, so they set collect kind of within themselves. They don't combine with anything.
Got it.
And then there's, I'm going to mess up the term, it's like transgenic elements also, or something like that. They do yet other things. I did not focus on those at all.
Okay.
But yeah, I pulled out a victory by about 3 points. It was pretty sweet because my oldest son was actually leading us through most of the game, but I had a feeling that I would pull it out in the end, and I did.
And all that stuff is sort of real, right? So.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the greatest thing when your kids can genuinely beat you and they give you a run for your money.
No, I meant that's cool too. But I meant
what you're getting at. Totally. Yes. Yeah. Yes. The fact that it is based in real science and actual real world stuff does make for a different type of experience than cartoony sushi that does crazy things.
Right. I have Compounded by Dice Hate Me Games, and theoretically, it's all science based too. I asked Daryl that once.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I never took chemistry or like physics or any of that in college. I kind of wish I did now, but it's always interesting just to look at that stuff when it's not your turn, and you're like, oh yeah, I wonder if those. And he has a jokingly meth card that they made up when big was it Breaking Bad was a hit show.
That is funny. I did not know such a thing existed.
Yeah, it's just like a silly promo from.
Although I will disagree with you. I did not take science in college, and even though I love science, all to me science was math with a lab attached.
Oh, okay.
I had enough to do. I took calculus. It was enough.
Was it? Well, the reason I want it like now is like I started baking and cooking and stuff, and there's like I read books like what Einstein told his chef, and it talks about like the science behind baking, and a lot of that I wish I knew more of. So
Sure.
I just do it now as sort of a secondary education, I guess. Then maybe I didn't need to know it in college or high school or college to know it now, I guess. But
Mhm.
wish I knew a little bit more of some of the basics of how what they're talking about is. So, well, hey, speaking of realistic games, I played Monster Crunch.
Oh
Just
yeah.
joking, yeah. So we chatted a little bit about uh, this before the show, but I'm going to go ahead and chat some more. So first of all, you probably haven't heard the drama about getting this. Have you actually seen Monster Crunch at Target yet?
I have not. I know
Okay.
that it wasn't released at Gen Con,
It was released at Gen Con. I did not
but it is a
make it to
Target
Gen Con,
exclusive
but I
now,
heard
correct?
stories that you could get a box of cereal and like there was a guy dressed up as Captain Crunch at Gen Con and all these other great things. And I was really disappointed. So I grew up remembering at least the three guys, Captain Crunch, Count Chocula, not Count Crunch. Why did I say that? Count Chocula, Boo Berry, and Frankenberry. I do not remember Mummy and Fruit Brute at all.
I agree
From
with you. I do not know those characters either. I know the three that you mentioned.
yeah. So anyway, so this is a Target exclusive, and
Mhm.
I heard about it, and a couple groups talked about it. I think Bruce talked about it over on Board Games, and I talked about it fairly positively. So I thought, well, I'm gonna check it out. So I went to Target, and they didn't. I think I looked it up on my phone app to see that they had it at the store near
Mhm.
my office. They didn't have it. Or they said they had it. So I went over there, and then I looked it up on my phone, and it wasn't anywhere where they said it was. And then the lady in the aisle looked it up on hers, and she went back and she got me out this puzzle, and the puzzle wasn't. And I said, no, it's a board game. And she says, well, it's the same code. So then she calls over this other guy, and the other guy comes over, and he looks it up on his phone, his gadget, and it looks like the game on their gadget, but it looks that leads them to this puzzle in the back room. So
All
this
right.
happens to me, I want to say 4 different times I go to Target
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
can't get the game. And everyone, and I think we were talking to Isaac about this a couple weeks ago. And he goes, "Well, just order it." I'm like, if I order it, I'm just going to get that damn puzzle instead of
You can't.
instead of the actual game. So finally, I don't know what I did. I was like, I needed to go one more time, and I said, I looked it up one more time, and I did where you can order it and it's available at the front desk. And I
Mhm.
went, and I said, I'll give him one more try. And there it was waiting for me. So I was like, yippee. Well, then another 2 weeks go by before I can finally play it. So it's like, it's been, I don't know, like it's 6 weeks of trials just to get this stupid game. So we finally played it. My friend has this light game night, he calls it. And, I wanted to try it. So we broke it out, and it's a ladder game. So everyone, you have, everyone has a deck of cards with numbers 1 through 30, 1 through 12, 3 times. And you shuffle them and you draw 12 cards. And you have a little bowl of cereal in front of you, and it matches your character. And then you have a special ability card. And you just put down a 1. Say I put down a 1, and the next person puts down a
Mhm.
1. And then, you either have to put down a card that's equal to or better the next person. Then you just go around and you're trying to get rid of your cards. And as soon as somebody gets rid of all the cards in their hand, then you score the cards that you've managed to put into your bowl of cereal. Those are points, not the value of them. Just a card is worth a point.
Mhm.
Um, and the cards you haven't played get thrown out of the game, and then you do that with the cards you have left. You do it 3 times. The twist is you have these little cartons of milk, and the cartons of milk allow you to add 2 cards together, like a pair of 4s, or something that is sequential, like 4, 5, 6, could be added together to
Mhm.
become 15. So then these numbers start getting bigger and better. And we
Ah.
did small numbers, but then somebody realized, they got their opening hand and they had a carton of milk, and they're like, "Here's 51." And we're like, "Oh, really? I guess you could do that," because they happen to get like 1 through, whatever, 9.
Oh wow, they have the
as
little
their opening hand, and they happened to have a carton of milk, and they were able to do that. I'm like, oh, we can't stop that, So
no,
they
no,
only
no.
had three, and it was like, so we had this was like in the third round. Hey Ben, and so Ben just joined the chat room.
Hi
So
Ben.
so surprisingly, there was like what was the word you used? There was a meta game or a game emergent game that came out,
Oh yeah,
but it
emergent
didn't
game
come
is
out towards the
booming now.
end of the game of oh, I didn't realize we could do this. That's not in the rules. That's just something we figured out through play. So that was fun. That was fun that we discovered that. Now we didn't have time to play it again, but yeah, I definitely would. I want to play it again. So I forgot to use the Cubist scale. Um, so going back to I'm going to go to mine, and then we'll go back to Ion. So
Sure.
buy it, burn it, forget it, play it. Someone's got to remind me what our Cubist scale is. I didn't wear my Cubist shirt. It's in the email I sent you. As far as this is, I'm still going to go with a play it for two reasons on this game. One, because the components are okay. The cards are really flimsy, so you're going to have to sleeve them if you're going to play it a lot. Other than
Mhm.
that, and I mean, you still have to like ladder climbing games. It's not, if you don't like card games, I wouldn't go for it. There you go.
No,
Ben
I
is in the
agree.
chat room. It's buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it. So let's go back to Ion. Do you have a recommendation for Ion if you can find it?
I would say Ion is definitely a play it. The theme is very strong
Mm-hmm.
in the entire game, and there are these tiles that you use that modify things, and they're distributed at the beginning of the game. And when you use them, you actually lose points for using them. So definitely sort of a balancing mechanism where you use them to gain an advantage, but you do lose points. Um, but those points are distributed randomly. So you could lose 1 point for using a choose two tile, and someone else could use a choose two tile, and they lose 4 points. So I mean, it's not egregious. It's not going to ruin anyone's game, but you need to make sure you like the theme. You need to make sure you're willing to, uh, deal with that kind of randomness and the fact that you may get stuck with a really lousy set of tiles, and you could lose up to 12 points, whereas somebody else might lose three. That's a pretty big swing in this game.
Yeah,
But yeah, but if you dig the theme and you like sort of a casual set collection game, it's definitely a play it.
nice. Well, since you had two games that you mentioned, I'm gonna have you talk about your other one because I had another one I wanted to talk about, but I didn't put up there. What's your second game?
Yeah, sure. So, in fact, just literally an hour before this podcast, I did a little game that you might know. It's called Gloomhaven,
Awesome.
and not like it needs more publicity because it's like a juggernaut of gaming.
I'm glad you're
But
getting it played.
well, yeah, you know what it is I bought it off of the second Kickstarter
Yep.
because as a publisher, and this may be a lie I tell myself, I'm fully willing to admit that. But as a publisher, I felt like if I were ever going to explore this area of legacy or campaign style games, that I ought to know and be familiar with a game like this.
Sure.
So the price was right, and I purchased it, and it's beautiful. It is everything everybody says. Um, but it sat and it sat and it sat. But my middle son, who's now 14, kept saying to me over and over, he's like, "Hey, what is that? Are we going to play it?" And eventually I described it to him, and he says, "Man, I want to play that." And so then he
Hmm.
just kept going. When are we going to play it? When are we going to play it? When are we going to play it? So, we started, I don't know, a couple months ago. And so now once a week, me and my 14-year-old and my 18-year-old sit down, and it's a very good game. I would not necessarily say, I mean, it's not like my favorite game. I wouldn't, um, necessarily pop it at number one on Board Game Geek, but I do think it does an excellent job of accomplishing what it sets out to accomplish. And more importantly, I'm spending time with my boys,
Yeah,
and it's a couple hours a week, but as they get older and they drift into their real lives, and it's time that I'll never be able to recapture it anyway. So it is the best game to that end.
that's all that matters. And you're each doing one character?
Yes, we're each doing one character.
Yeah. I tried it with two, and I think it was struggling. So I think if I try it again with two people, we're going to do two characters each. So see how that does. But maybe three probably would be okay to give you enough variety of abilities.
Yeah, I mean, our characters are all pretty different. I mean, I don't really have a very good. We're still all on our first characters. We just finished the fifth. What is our fifth scenario tonight? We've had at least one side quest. We have another one hanging out there. But so I'm the mine thief, and then my boys each play more of a battering ram tank type character, but
like a brute. And
there's the Cragheart, I think it's called, and then I don't remember the name of the other one, but it doesn't matter. So,
sure, cool.
But we have a good time, and we're slowly gaining ground and becoming a little more familiar with the system and our own characters and everything like that. So yeah, we spent a couple hours doing that, and we actually just set up the board for our next adventure, and next Monday night we'll bang it out again.
That sounds awesome. So on the Cubist scale, buy it, play it, forget it, burn it.
I say play it because see, I grew up at the age of say 13 to 16, and then again from about say 24 to 30 playing regular Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And I ran a game. I mean, I ran a game pretty solid.
What edition?
Basically 3.0. 3.0, and then it kind of merged into 3.5, and I played 4.0 twice, and I really didn't like it. I've never played 5th edition, but I read the manual, and I think that I would be, I don't have time these days to run my own game, but I think if somebody were to run it, I would thoroughly enjoy it because it pretty much, to me, I summarize it, it's 3.0 with three differences. There's the whole, they've reduced the skill set to be more manageable. There's the advantage, I think it's called advantage, or sort of expertise mechanic where you roll 2d20 and pick the better one. And then there's one other thing. So to me, there were just three things they sort of added / subtracted from the system to make for a better experience. And I looked at all three changes and I was like, oh yeah, that I totally get why they did that. So, but the rest of it seems very, very similar to the 3.0 experience. But anyway, my point being is that having come from a pretty strong role-playing background, I see what at least I think I like to see what Gloomhaven is trying to accomplish for people who more prefer a regular board game, and I think it does it perfectly. So yeah, it is a great game accomplishing what it sets out to do.
Nice. Hang on just a second. Let me grab my last one. I haven't had a chance to box it back up. I'm going to talk about Dinosaur Island. Speaking of second wave, so I missed the first wave of that, and went and got the second wave. So it's just the non-Kickstarter though. It's the retail version. It showed up at my FLGS, and I was him and Han over getting it, and Derek Davis talked about having a decent solo game, and I play more solo games lately. And I was in the store and I was tweeting him about it, and he goes, "Yeah, it's really good solo." And my wife might play it with me. I don't know. And she goes, "Does it have dinosaur meeples?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, duh, get it." I was like, well, that's
you can't beat that kind of encouragement.
That is a good reason to get a game if there ever was one, right? Now I only have the one, it only has one shape versus the multiple shapes. Anyway, so I got it home and I played it like 3 or 4 times solo, so it's very solid.
Wow.
So I have not played it with another person yet. I really am looking forward to that opportunity. But as a solo game, it's a strong buy it for me, just for the solo game and as a lover of 80s dinosaur movies. It's I grew up on Jurassic Park, right? So it's a Jurassic Park clone. The fun names of the restaurants, I forget the one. It's a Clever Grill and things like that. As a lover of puns, it's great.
That is very,
it's great. And it's just got some interesting mechanics to it. So Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. So I'm just definitely looking forward to playing it with some more people to see how it changes things. So it has some scaling functions,
That's
so you
awesome.
can make it simple and make it a little harder too. So not I think I would say length, not necessarily difficulty. So
Yeah, I've heard there's different length games.
yeah, yeah, I like that ability. So all right, that was fun. All right, let's talk about the Grand Gamers Guild. So let's just talk about who that is. First off, that's you
Sure.
and
It's
Josh, right?
absolutely.
Is that
Yes,
it?
Josh is my pretty much. I mean, there's other people who contribute to the overarching business, and there's
Hmm.
people who certainly contribute to each individual project. But Josh is definitely a pillar of my organization. So I don't know if you can call it an organization with only two people. It's kind of like a line at that point, you
It's
know.
a very, very unstable stool, right?
Yeah, no kidding. It's more like it's a bicycle,
There you go.
with two wheels. So no, yeah. So it's me, and I, made the decision a couple of years ago that I wanted to try my hand at publishing after doing a fistful of different things across the industry over time. And yeah, here we are after three small games and one giant game, or half of one giant game, and now I'm, doing my own sort of big box game. Not gigantic, but certainly pretty pithy
Hmm.
in itself. So, and I think things are going rather swimmingly, if I do say so.
Sure. So let's see. I think the first one was that Pocket Ops?
No, Unreal Estate was the first
Oh,
one.
that was the first one. Oh, okay.
Unreal Estate
Well,
was the
that's
first,
huge. I mean, that's very popular.
yeah.
No,
It's doing fine.
it's doing
It
fine.
Yeah, it was a solid Kickstarter. It was an amazing first experience.
Okay.
My theory always was that I wanted to start with a smaller project because smaller projects mean that the mistakes are smaller when you screw up.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, there quite frankly were really not a lot of screw ups with that. But with respect to sort of long term and founding a business, I mean, I'm sorry, Unreal Estate pretty much paid for itself,
Okay.
and that was kind of it. Um, I still do really well with it when I bring it to shows, but yeah, it was a great first project with a great designer and a good friend, as well as a fantastic artist who's also my good friend.
Mm-hmm.
And then we published Stroop alongside Unreal Estate,
Right.
partly because, to be honest with you, like Unreal Estate was lavish and beautiful, and the artwork in it was all these original watercolors. And Stroop was about as minimalist as you can get. It was literally words on cards in different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And Kickstarter is an extremely visual medium. And I don't even know if today, if I could sell Stroop on Kickstarter if it didn't already have the audience it has. I often toy with the idea of bringing sort of a Stroop second edition to Kickstarter, but I'm not really sure my heart is in that. Um, but going back in time and just looking at the way I put things out, we published Stroop traditionally because I just didn't know how to sell it on Kickstarter. I didn't know how to point out to folks the fun that they would have with this game that is these colored words on a white background card. Um, and it's a real time game and it's a thinky game.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I honestly think if I did put it on Kickstarter, because it has such a ardent supporter base, I probably would do pretty well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that ever happens.
Think back to Glory to Rome. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the same game, but it's
No.
Kimberly, who's not here, jokingly said, "Is that your clip art version of a print and play?"
Yeah. Yeah.
When she saw my black box, and I said, I was like, "No, no, this is the good version. Thank you." So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting that I bet you that probably wouldn't get the bang that it. Some people get, like a minis game, or I understand it completely. Everything's got to be flashy nowadays, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to come to Kickstarter with pretty much an all but finished game, and
Yeah.
that's essentially what we do. Partly because that's what the audience demands. You can't just
Hmm.
put up a pencil drawing on a piece of paper and say, "Here's my dream." But partly also because I mean, philosophically, that's the way I approach things. I want to bring to the backers and the people who choose to support me I want to bring my part to the table and let
Yeah.
them know that if they decide to back me, there's a reason that, the art is finished, the design is finished, or 98% finished. And, and the only real question is actually getting it produced, not getting it developed, not getting the art done. Uh, I don't want to be in, I don't want to be the person, I don't want to be the publisher who puts someone in Kickstarter limbo for a year wondering what the heck is going on. That's not my style.
Okay. Sorry, that's a weird message in the chat.
Oh, okay.
So
well, now I want to know what it is.
no, it was some sort of spam.
Oh.
So, all right. So Stroop wasn't a Kickstarter.
No,
You said
Stroop
that was
was
just. You were just.
well, I guess what it is I felt that I had made enough money. Okay, let me go in a different direction. So I love Kickstarter for what it's done for me. My company could not exist without Kickstarter, quite frankly. However, I feel there is a point at which one should consider not using Kickstarter. And that point for me is when one has the money to not use Kickstarter.
Sure.
And so Unreal Estate was successful enough that I chose to do the print run and bring Stroop to the market in a traditional fashion. And so that's what I did. When it came time for Pocket Ops, I needed to use Kickstarter again, and so I did.
Okay.
And Endeavor, Age of Sail, and Artemis Project are such big games. There is no way they could have been brought to life without Kickstarter.
Right.
I wish I could say otherwise, but you got to face reality and deal with it as it is.
Cool. All right, let's before we leave Stroop, just because I like it, let's talk about Stroop. What is Stroop? That's on a Stroop Effect. That means something, right?
Yes. So Stroop is the thinkiest filler that you'll ever play. The Stroop Effect is a real psychological phenomenon where you see the word red written in blue ink, and your brain takes an extra beat to try to figure out what's going on because it's receiving conflicting signals. So the designer of Stroop took that as his foundation and added a few other dimensions to it. He added a font type in the sense that the word is either a solid font or a hollow font. He added the, I guess this is also sort of font based, but capital and lowercase words, which are either big or little. And then he put it together with words that are either 3, 4, or 5, or 6 letters. And so essentially you have 4 dimensions across which you are trying to get rid of your cards as quickly as humanly possible with not only the cognitive interference of the cards themselves, giving you multiple messages, but also the fact that everyone is slamming the cards down on the pile at the same time and calling out what they're putting down. So it's kind of this, shock to your mind as you're constantly adjusting to new data.
And then playing it in a loud convention hall doesn't help either.
No, the noise definitely adds to the interference.
Yeah, no, I played this at Origins a year or two ago and really enjoyed it. I just haven't had a chance to get it myself. Definitely a brain burner kind of game I like. So we were talking a little earlier. So you've done really well with your Kickstarters as far as just looking at them as percentage wise now. Let's see. Unreal Estate was 571% of its goal. Pocket Ops was 481%, and then Endeavor is 910% of its goal. So Endeavor, I backed. Anxiously waiting for our copies to arrive.
Me too.
Yeah. I saw the prototype. I think that was at Origins? You were playing that with like Kirkman, and was that like an early
Origins? I'm trying
early version?
I'll just say yes. I'm sure. I don't remember if I played that with him. I may have played other things with him, but whatever. I mean, yeah, I definitely had it there.
I thought you had like a 3D version of like the Crown or something I was looking at.
Yes. The Crown is a big, chunky, impressive miniature piece. It is fantastic.
Nice. Anyway, so yeah, we're all anxiously waiting for that. All right. So talk about you keep mentioning designers. So you don't have like a standard designer. I mean, I know Josh is an artist. So you have various different designers that you work with. How do you pick a game that you choose to work on as the publisher?
Okay, so I guess I can tell some individual stories here. So I picked on real estate because Jason Slingerland, the designer, was talking on his podcast, Building the Game, about how he had pitched a different game to a couple publishers, got picked up, and then got let go. Um, and I had been thinking about publishing for quite some time, and I literally was in the car, hit pause, called him up, and said, "Dude, I want to publish your game." And it ended up being on real estate. So it's not the same game as that he was recounting the experience from. So that's how that one came to be. Stroop came around because the designer Jonathan Schaffer is a local Grand Rapids local and a personal friend, or has become a personal friend. And he had brought me some other game to assess. And I was pretty staunchly of the opinion that I was not looking for another card game. I had a card game. I wanted to do something separate, something different. But he showed me a game that we didn't wind up making moves with. And he said, "Well, I have this other card game." And I said, "Well, look, we're here. Let's play it." And I played it, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, that was amazing!" And
Mhm.
a couple weeks later, I presented him a contract. Interestingly, the next three games, Pocket Ops, Artemis Project, which was originally called Colonies of Venus, and my upcoming game, Endangered, actually all came out of Protospiel Chelsea, 2016. Chelsea is a small city outside of Ann Arbor
Mhm.
that I went to. And I didn't even realize until someone pointed out to me that I had pretty much signed all three games that I played there that day. So that was a fantastic experience. And clearly, it benefited me enormously. And then we have some other games coming down the pipeline. One is called Grinto, and that was presented to me because the designer is a friend of a friend, and she basically pitched to me for him, and it was fantastic. That game had me lighting up just in the description, and then I played it, and that was just like that, just cinched the deal. Um, and then the next one after that is Las Vegas. And that one, really, I met the designers at Dice Tower Con last year, and I really, really love the story that they were telling. And no, you know what? I met them at Origins first. Then we got serious at Dice Tower Con. And so yeah, then that one is on the docket as well.
Huh.
So to your actual question as to how I decide which games to sign, um, one of the things that we have tried to adopt as our slogan is the phrase game night go to. And that is because I've always wanted to cast a very wide net.
Mhm.
I want to be the company that you could spend an entire game night or game day with our games, with our various titles, and look back on your days worth of gaming and go, oh my gosh, these all came from the same company. So I mean, you know, on real estate is light strategy, Stroop is a speed game, Pocket Ops is two-player light strategy, Artemis is arguably a medium strategy game with yet different mechanics. Endangered is a co-op. Grinto is an abstract tile drafting set collection game, and all of those are really, really, really different. So we want to be the company that is providing a wide breadth of experiences.
Nice.
So maybe to answer your question, is the way to get me to sign your game is to be something I haven't done before, something that you even may think that I have no interest in, because that was kind of the case with Stroop. Is I theoretically had no interest in it, and then I played it, and I was like, oh my goodness. And there's another game that was pitched to me, and the designers said to me, well, you already have a two-player game. You got Pocket Ops going on right now. I said, well, look, let's give it a shot. And that was actually the second game that they pitched to me. And I said to them, I said, oh my gosh, I really love this title. And so I have a queue of signed games. And then I have a queue of games that I'll sign as soon as I get a game out of the pipeline. So, because once you sign a contract, that clock starts ticking.
Mm.
And I'm only one person. Josh is only one person. There's
Yeah.
only so much we can practically handle. And I probably should have more in my queue, but quite frankly, um, I'm still tiny. I mean, I literally worry about the existence of my company on a daily basis.
Hmm.
That might be a touch of an exaggeration, but as successful as Endeavor was, it was a very expensive project.
Right.
And as successful as Artemis Project is, it is an expensive project.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this publishing thing is kind of its own engine building game. I'm waiting for that engine to be built, and I'm not at the point where I can leave Kickstarter behind and just crank titles out.
Yeah.
I need to be very careful. I need to make good decisions, and not all the decisions I've made have been good.
Hmm.
So, time will tell.
Yeah. Gil Hova talks a lot about that on his. I was just leaving it. What's his podcast?
Ludology.
No, the other one.
Oh, I'm not familiar with the other one.
On board game. No, sorry, it'll come to
No,
me.
that's okay. But he actually, to your point though, Gil did just put a very revealing post out on Facebook the other day, talking about personal struggles and business struggles and
Yes, I
how
saw that.
challenging it's been. And and Gil's a guy who has, and I said this on his thread. I'm like, dude, you got a high profile. You're gonna pull this off. I mean, your engine is moving. But it was honestly, it was such a relief to hear that from someone who I consider to be in the industry a full step ahead of me,
Right.
in terms of the pedestal he stands on, the recognition that his name and his company gets. I have a lot of respect for him because I'm walking the same path that he is. So, to know that he is struggling with the same issues
Hmm.
is, you know, I don't wish him ill, not even close to that. I told him, I said, I hope you thrive, but to know that he struggles with the same things was kind of a relief.
Yeah.
Like, hey, all in this together, and it is it's difficult, no matter how talented and smart you are. It's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. So breaking into board games was his podcast.
Oh, okay.
But it's a it's yeah, it's a behind the scenes. He talks as the publisher there, and
Gotcha.
he's always talking about struggling of the cash flow and
Hmm.
and those sorts of issues that you're talking about that I find really interesting to hear about, because you don't think about those things um, when you're um, when you're just buying a game, right? You know,
No,
you
and
know.
Kickstarter does a tremendous job of masking all of that,
Yes.
because people see projects succeed, and you see some projects succeed with six-digit numbers and seven-digit
Hmm.
numbers, and
Hmm.
you're just like, wow, you're happy for that person and you're happy for that company.
Yeah.
But man, it is the reality is so much grittier than the shiny Kickstarter would have you believe.
Right.
And I don't say that with any anger or bitterness. I mean, it's just the reality. I mean, when I was only a consumer, I was able to have that veil over my eyes as well.
Hmm. And I was just wondering how it changes the dynamics of thinking, where a game goes out onto it, and they were planning on whatever. I can't think of the numbers, but a, 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 1,000 backers, and they get 10,000 backers. That's got to totally change their plan, right? The
Oh,
logistics
absolutely.
of it, right?
Yeah, that is. I mean, when Helena and I kickstarted Endeavor Age of Sail, we were, holding our breath and crossing our fingers, hoping to reach, $200,000.
Yeah.
And when all was said and done, we were at 550 American, a little more than that Canadian.
Hmm.
And I don't want to say astounded, because that would be disingenuous. Once we hit the go button and it was actually moving as quickly as it did,
Yeah.
it kind of became clear that the beast that Endeavor was so much more. You always hope, but so much more than we let ourselves really hope to be. I don't want to put words in Helena's mouth, so these are just my words.
Sure.
You always hope that your project is going to catch the zeitgeist and be the talk of the town and get on the podcasts and everything like that.
Hmm.
Um, but Endeavor is one that actually did,
Yeah.
and yeah, and so that has added in layers upon layers of logistics and problems and costs and decisions that needed to be made on a very, very large scale. Again, that's a game that if there's a mistake, it's a big mistake that
Yes.
costs a lot of money.
Right.
So yeah, but you roll with it and you do the best you can and you lay your cards out for your backers because that's why they're there. They didn't just buy a game; they bought the journey. They're there with you, and you know, 9 times out of 10, when you communicate well and you let the backers know you have their best interest at heart, it all sorts.
Sure. I just bought the game, by the way. I did. I'm the world's easiest backer.
And a lot of folks are like that. They back and they walk away, and you're good.
Yeah.
But Endeavor was definitely a very engaging campaign.
Yeah.
People were really invested in seeing this game brought back to life.
Cool. No, I remember playing it, the old one. Looking forward to getting
Yeah,
my copy. Awesome. So we've been talking a little bit about your new one. So you're in the middle of a Kickstarter, and that is the Artemis Project. So let's hear a little bit about that.
sure. So we have 4 days to go, and the
Okay.
Artemis Project is the story of colonizing Europa. Europa is, from a real world point of view, one of the planetary bodies in the solar system that is conjectured to be a good candidate for harboring life inherent to it, not just us landing on it and doing whatever we see fit to do, because it has an icy crust, and below that is an ocean. So
Okay.
obviously, in human terms, water means life. So this is the story of a couple hundred years in the future, where humanity is casting themselves out into the solar system to settle Europa, and you are vying for to be the best colony as part of the Artemis Project. It is a dice placement, engine building set collection game. It now plays 1 to 5. It started out playing 2 to 4. It's about 60 to 75 minutes, and it is highly, highly interactive. I'm really, really proud of the game as it exists, and just super excited to watch it come even more vibrantly to life through the stretch goals.
Nice. And what did Eric Dewey call this? He called it Alien Frontiers meets something else.
Oh, I've often, I mean, he may have repeated this, or I've
Okay.
often called it Alien Frontiers meets steroids. Alien Frontiers meets Homesteaders. It was
Homesteaders.
it
Yes.
was it was someone else who said it was Alien Frontiers on steroids.
On steroids. Well, I love Alien Frontiers, so that perked up my ears
Yep,
when I
Alien
heard
Frontiers
that.
is absolutely one of my favorite all-time games. I was an
Hmm.
original backer way back in 2009 or 2010. And as part of my gaming career, I actually, way back when, reached out to David McKenzie, who was of Clever Mojo Games at that time, and ended up demoing Alien Frontiers at Origins. And I ran 4 games simultaneously, twice a day, every day of Origins, the year that it was public.
Wow.
And I tell you what, every seat in every game was taken. It
Sure.
was absolutely amazing teaching 16 people simultaneously how to play that game. I had a ton of fun. And funny thing is, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but a lot of people say, well, how is this different than Alien Frontiers? Why should I even bother? Um, Aside from the driving mechanic of dice placement and the fact that it is a space setting, the game itself could really not be more different than Alien Frontiers.
Sure.
It really is a thing apart. It has Alien Frontiers DNA, but it is, with no disrespect to Alien Frontiers itself, the next evolution.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. um so who's the pedigree behind this? If you didn't mention
So
it.
it's a co-design by Daniel Rocky and Daryl Chow, 2 Canadian gentlemen who actually began working on it quite some time ago. I signed it in 2016, so it's been in development for 2 years. But my understanding is that it actually had come together in some form quite a bit previous to that, maybe a year, maybe two. Um, but yeah, they uh, okay, so Daryl recently won a Canadian Design Award on a design with a different co-designer, and Daryl has a game that was out at Essen last year, but I'm going to have to ask any viewers or listeners to go and look those things up because
Sure.
they are not in my brain.
Let's see. So let's see. We got 4 days to go. You've got $72,000 pledged. So there you go. You've got lots of work ahead of you on this one too, right?
Yeah, things are
You got
going
that all
well.
figured out.
Actually, yes. I mean, to a great degree. In fact, I spent a good part out. And I'll spend the next 6 weeks figuring it out. Actually, probably quite a bit more than that, actually.
All right. Well, the graphics look great on the Kickstarter page.
Super lucky. I mean, Dominic is an absolutely stunning artist, who just happened to approach me at Essen Essen last year, 2017. He walks up. My booth was all the way out in Hall 8, kind of like the no man's land of Essen.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a time when I wasn't busy, and he comes up and he says, "Hey, here's who I am. Here's what I do." And he's showing me. He's holding Transatlantic in his hand, which was an Essen release last year, if my memory serves me correctly. And then he hands me his brochure. And Josh and I, Josh is many things to me, but he's also my lead. Art director. And so we had been hunting for an artist for quite some time. And well, anyway, I kind of knew the moment I saw Dominic's brochure. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is our guy. So I immediately, as soon as Dominic walked away, got on social media, like Facebook Messenger, and I'm like, Josh, you gotta like here's the website, go look right now. And within probably 20 minutes, he had messaged me back and gone, oh yeah, I think this is our guy. And I'm like, excellent, glad we're on the same page. And then we contracted with Dominic, and here we are. But yeah, he's stunning. I mean, if you have the opportunity to look him up on Twitter or Facebook, he does these speed paintings, he calls them, and it's almost ridiculous to call it speed painting. Like, this is my slapdash work.
Yeah, I hate that.
He's absolutely phenomenal. So super excited to have had that incidental contact and have it come to fruition in such an amazing project.
Cool. So I think I saw maybe somebody was tweeting out about this today. The little box for the dice. That's not
the shake shift. It was.
It's not been unlocked yet. It's getting close.
It is getting close. Yeah.
What is the shake ship?
So the shake ship is our storytelling and mechanical resolution to let's call it the meeple problem, for lack of a better way to put it. So we're trying to tell a really strong story with the Artemis Project. And in fact, if you're a backer, or even if you're not a backer and you access the updates, which are started out daily, and now they're every other day. I decided to undertake a project within the project and tell a story, literally tell a story, in every backer update. And so I have been, and I'm not a writer, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I've been putting together a little short piece of fiction with the help of designer Daryl Chow, that we're putting out with every backer update. And so, like I said, the story of Europa and the art is really, really evocative. And we wanted to enhance that story through taking the cubes and turning them into meeples. So if you look at the stretch goal structure, we have started out as cubes, all of the different types of colonists, and then we turn them into a single type of meeple shape. And then eventually we will, hopefully, fingers crossed, probably soon hit changing it into 4 different shapes, because there's 4 different types of colonists. Well, part of the game is drawing those colonists randomly out of a bag, but when you make things shapy, it undoes the randomness, because it gives people the opportunity to feel for what they're looking for. So Josh came up with the shake ship as a way to, again, evoke more story, but also evoke the ability to spit out colonists randomly without undoing the randomness. And so that prototype video that I've been sharing around, and which I'll continue to share more of tomorrow, actually is just a video. I don't think he ever intended it to go public, but it really shows people. It's one thing to show a pretty graphic on a Kickstarter campaign. It's a whole other thing to show people of, hey, this is how it goes together, and this is how it works. This is how it's gonna behave when you're actually in the game. And I'll tell you what, it wasn't as well received as we thought. It has been quite a subject of controversy on our little Kickstarter, which is both a joy, but also a little bit frustrating, because it's a joy because anything that gets people talking about your project tells you that people care.
Yeah.
You know, whether they like it or they don't like it. If they care enough to speak up, that means they're invested. And you know, as a independent publisher, a lot of times it feels like you're shouting into the void, and you wonder if anybody cares. You know, that's probably the biggest, most threatening thing to me as a publisher is, does any of this that I'm doing matter? You know, does this story I'm putting together matter? These paragraphs that I, you know, jot out at the beginning of every backer update, does do these stretch goals matter? You know, all this time and money and storytelling and effort that goes into bringing this project to life. It can be really, really lonely. But you know, when you put something out, again, for good or ill, we've had a lot of uh, naysayers for the Shake Ship, and a lot of people who love it. But the Shake Ship will hopefully, through time and dollars, become a reality. So that's kind of cool. And you know what? If honestly, if people don't like it, if it doesn't work, if it's the worst idea ever in board gaming, you know, then they can go get a bag. Bags and cubes are a dime a dozen. It is obtainable at any Amazon or whatever, you know. But we, you know, we think it's really cool, and we're super excited to make it become a reality.
Sure.
Oh, and one other thing I wanted to say. Sorry,
yeah.
let me continue. You know, one of the things I was reflecting on today as I was speaking to people about, you know, their concerns about it. You know, a lot of people love the game Lords of Waterdeep, but one of the biggest complaints about that experience is, hey, I want to put my orange cube there,
Yes.
or remove my black cube there.
Yes.
When you're supposed to be telling a story set in a cherished and well written about Dungeons and Dragons universe. I can't control people's language. They're going to do what they're going to do at the table. But as a creator, as a publisher, I can do my darndest to evoke that experience of attempting to settle Europa. And by changing the cubes into shapes, I'm at least trying to avoid what I'll refer to as the Lords of Waterdeep problem.
Yes. No, I understand completely, because I still call them orange cubes and black cubes, but it's because they don't look like anything. But I love I love the fact that people have later at least created the I forget they call them the meeples, but the Waterdeep meeples that you can add on to it.
Whatever they're called, they could be called water deeples.
Yes, they could. So your Shake Ship, just I got to tell a little side story here. We went to the light game night, and my wife's she's definitely not an avid gamer like me, and she's just a light gamer. And I was thinking of the camel up pyramid, you know. Hi, Chad. Chad just joined us, and you know, it decks a dice for you anyway. So somebody picked that up at light game night, and my wife said, "Oh, Camel Cup, what's that all about?" I just started laughing. And she had no idea about the controversy of the name.
Right.
You know, we didn't actually end up playing the game, but we just played something. She goes, "What did we just play with camels?" Oh, Through the Desert. No, 5 Tribes. Pink camels. So she had camels on the brain. Anyway, it's just interesting how little things like that catch on, you know. And then somebody was talking about it today. They're redoing it. They're redoing it in plastic in the anniversary edition.
Yeah, and I've seen the box cover, and it very definitively is Camel Up.
Yeah,
the graphic design, it was cleaned up such that it is.
They've eliminated that. Well, that's cool that I like that idea of telling the story. And you know, I'm totally a theme person when it comes to games, so I like that idea. Of course, I'm horrible about reading flavor text and stuff. You know, I call money like mega space bucks, and you know, I'll just make up names of things if I can't remember it. Chad says Camel Up 2 is coming out at Essen, so you can pick it up while you're there. Are you a Camelot
Oh.
fan? You're going to Essen, it says on the website. So you're going again?
Me? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we had a great time there last year, and we've graduated from Hall 8 to Hall 5. That's what happens when you publish a giant popular game and get a much bigger booth. In fact, we actually got an email today from one of our retailer backers seeking more copies because they said that their entire order sold out in an hour.
That's awesome.
Yes, that is awesome.
And is it truly crazy over there?
What do you mean?
Going to Essen.
Oh, I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean. I mean, it is no less crazy than Gen Con.
Okay.
I can say, having been in a booth on my own, but then I also did some work for Stronghold years ago.
Okay.
It's very nice to have a booth as a refuge because, especially when you're in the big halls, it is a madhouse. It is body to body. It is intimidating. I mean, I'm not afraid of crowds or anything like that, but it is a crush. It is a crush of people all there, crazy enthusiastic for what they're there for.
Yeah. Well, like this year at Origins, I just wasn't in the mood, and I like hid in the little game room up in Hall D, up in the hallway.
Oh, sure.
So I was fine. I just played games with people, which is all I felt like doing this year. So
sure, imagine that you went to a convention, you played games.
Isn't that crazy? I know. So you've got lots of good reviews here. You got a bunch of other Punchboard Media Place people where we all bring something to the table. I got to get that mumble out. Glenn did a great job on the segment of the shuffle that dropped this morning. And who else do I recognize here? I already mentioned the Onboard Games folks, and lots of other good people here. So
I got so many reviews. I was very, very organized, and I got half a dozen prototypes made. But by the time all is said and done, those prototypes will have cycled through, probably like 20 to 25 people.
That's great.
So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's the case. Maybe too much is not enough. But I figured the more the merrier. So.
No, I keep hearing good things. I love Isaac's story, though. Have you heard it yet? I know I mentioned it to you.
Yes, thought I was inviting him to play Artemis, the space simulation game, and then he showed up, and I'm like, no, it's my game. And he actually told me, he knows I'm a listener. He says, yeah, I knew that I would be telling this story, and I knew you would hear it, and that made me laugh even more, or something like that. So
great.
Yeah, that is hilarious to no end.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that story. I still have not played either the Artemis space simulator or a demo yet, a prototype of the Artemis project, but I'm looking forward to playing both someday. All right, hey, we're running about our hour. So, are you familiar with Rapid Fire? Have you had a chance to see Rapid Fire anywhere?
I have not.
That's okay.
I feel like I'm about to be in a hot seat, which is fun.
You are. It is a hot seat thing. So Rapid Fire is 5 just sort of stupid questions that I come up with.
Sure.
That there's pretty simple rules. You can't repeat the question back to me or kind of hum and haw and stall for time. You just kind of just spit out the first thing that comes to your mind. Really, is the goal here, just to kind of get you to say something silly, because that's the goal. It's really just to be. I was really disappointed when I found out that the ludology questions were sent out in advance. These are not. I'm just going to say that right here and now, folks. I make these up like minutes before the show, and no one else knows them other than me. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
All right, so Specter with a Gun is a Star Trek episode. Name a crew station in Star Trek.
A crew station? Yeah. Well, how about the helm?
There you go. Name a good game for 3 players.
For 3 players? Well, I played Ion today, so I'll go. Actually, I played Ion and Gloomhaven 3 players. So there, you got 2.
I know.
Two for your money.
You walked right into that one. Name a location in the Endeavor map.
Oh, the hangars.
No, I meant like a world location.
What do you?
Not like North America.
Endeavor. Oh my gosh, my brain was an Artemis Project. Sorry. So, how about the Caribbean?
There you go. Name a game besides your own and Alien Frontiers that has dice in it.
Oh, geez, Louise. How about Voyages of Marco Polo?
I hear that's a good game. I haven't played it.
That is a very good game.
All right, theme or mechanic first?
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm going to say mechanic, quite frankly.
Okay. That's it. That was rapid fire. How's that?
Oh,
but you can expound on your last one.
Well, like, gosh, I said mechanic, but then as soon as I said it, I almost kind of, I don't know, regret's not the right word, but I think about the story we're trying to tell.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the Artemis Project, which is obviously front and center. But really, I mean, it was always a space game. But yeah, I guess it really is mechanic. The mechanic has to drive it for me, and then we wrap a story around that.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with that.
That works. Good job. All right. So if people want to learn more about the Artemis, obviously they can go to Kickstarter, right? It's got 4 days left.
Yep. Kickstarter, 4 days left, although in about an hour it'll say 3 days left.
All right.
So
now I think about it here.
Just type the Artemis Project into Kickstarter and you'll find it right there.
I'm pretty sure Bill put the link down below for the hangout when he created it this morning. And how do people get a hold of you?
You can go to grandgamersguild.com. There is a contact tab there that you can send me an email.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to Facebook and search for Grand Gamers Guild. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram at Grand Gamers Guild, but you drop all the vowels. So yeah, we were one letter too long for their format. So, and I didn't like the idea of dropping the D and being at Grand Gamers Guild. That sounds weird.
Yeah.
So I dropped the vowels, and it seems to work well enough.
Yeah, I've seen other people do that. That works pretty well. And of course, I'm on the Twitters at Over the Hillier, and I'm filling in for Bill Corey as the Cubist, who will be back next week. I don't know who we have next week. We'll figure that out next week. Thanks for coming on, Mark.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Good luck with Artemis. I need to get over and back that before it
I like that idea.
It happened when you were on my show for Endeavor. You know what's going to happen now. So
amen, brother.
Yep. All right. All right. We're going off the air in a couple seconds after I hit the unlive button.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
See everybody in the chat room. Thanks.